Hi, and welcome to Talking with Giants. I'm your host, Scott Schilling. You know, I've been asked, what's Talking with Giants all about? Well, as a speaker, trainer, business coach, author, and now TV show host, I've had the pleasure to share the stage or meet so many amazing giants, and I wanted to learn from them, quite frankly. And what was so amazing to me is their generosity, their desire to share, their desire to help me and so many others. Well, quite frankly, it's now time for you to have that same opportunity, meeting some of those people. You know, this is not a religious show. My friend Les Brown put it this way: religion is all about not going to hell. Spiritual relationship with Jesus is about living through it. I think we've all been knocked around a little bit throughout our careers, if we've been through anything at all. And this is really about hope and inspiration and picking it back up. In fact, my pre-stage prayer and now my TV show pre-show prayer is the exact same. Lord, allow the words that are spoken here today to impact positively 100% of the lives of the viewing audience. Only you know who you sent here to hear this message. Allow me to do the best I can to deliver that message, be a vehicle and of service to you. See, that's all I can control, is a high intention and a low attachment of accomplishing something great here today and bringing you amazing giants, amazing friends, like my good friend Logan Stout.
Thanks, man. Good to be here today.
Man, it's so awesome. You know, we've been friends for a while now, and you're just an amazing guy. You know, I mean, you're a lifelong entrepreneur. You're a pastor. You are a pastor.
I'm a liberated pastor.
A liberated pastor.
No, I still am a pastor, actually.
A 17-time World Series coach. Yeah. Successful business leader, coach, motivational speaker, CEO and founder of ID Life, a health and wellness company. Yeah. Man, you've done so much in so little time.
Yeah. You know, thank God for fast forward buttons, right? No, it is great to be here, and I love the theme of what you're doing. And when you asked me to come on, I was honored to do it, A, because of who you are. Most importantly, I know your heart behind adding value to people's lives. And then B, ultimately, I think, you know, people are looking for ways to be inspired. I think deep down inside, everyone out there, they want to know how they can, you know, ultimately be, do, and have more in life. And there's so many distractions, you know, so many, you know, with social media and quite honestly, most television programming, which is why I turn down most television program offers when they ask me to come on. They don't add value. They create drama. They create distractions. And so when I heard what you were doing and the messaging and the theme behind the show, I immediately said, okay, that's something that's going to help add value to people's lives. And, you know, I think one of the keys to my success, and whether I'm speaking or meeting with someone or whatever it is, we have to understand that thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to habits, habits lead to results. And thoughts are simply a byproduct of what we read, what we listen to, what we watch, who we surround ourselves with, the environment. And, you know, I think most people, they end up just drifting through life, because they're not thinking, right? They're not making their way in the world. The world is making their way in them. And so what happens is they just sort of drift through life, and then one day they wake up, right? And they go, what?
How did I get here?
How did I get here? You know, how did I get in debt? What happened to my relation? You know, today people think friends are how many, you know, people connect with you on Facebook, right? I mean, that's not a friend. I mean, it might be, but I mean, we were put on this earth to do life with people, authentic, transparent, real relationships. And what I see with your show is I believe it's going to help people get back to that. And so when you asked me to be on, I was honored to be on. So.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, you've had such a varied career. Again, we just discussed before going on air about being a pastor and to go from being a pastor, baseball coach, businessman, network marketing icon, to founding a company. Where do you want to start in that whole conversation?
Well, I think if you look at the commonalities with all of them, right, whether it's pastoring at a megachurch or marrying a couple or coaching baseball or writing a book or owning companies, traditional companies or, you know, ID Life, it all encompasses people. You know, bottom line is, you know, when our time is done, you know, nobody's going to care how much money you made, right? Nobody cares how many degrees you had. Nobody, you know, bottom line is how many lives did you impact? And if you look at the common thing behind what I've done, whether it was working in a church or whether running companies or coaching, for me, I guess by doing it wrong first, I grew up with very humble beginnings. And so for me, it was more of that survival of the fittest mindset, meaning, look, I'm going to get all I can all I get so I can sit on the can type thing. Right? Yeah. And then ultimately what happened is you know the story. I was wealthy by the age of 25 and set for life, and I'm out playing golf, right? That's the dream, right? So you get your life, you get the yacht, you get the plane, you play golf every day, and you just, basically that's what I found. Isn't very fulfilling, right? Yeah. And so I realized I was very empty, extremely empty inside. And I had everything the world said that you would want and then some. And yet I had nothing, And so basically I sort of redirected my life. One of my best friends and mentor, actually, John Maxwell, he puts it best. He said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And when I was able to realize that God had blessed me with the platforms in life, which ultimately lead to influence, right? I realized that my mission behind all those was to reach people for the kingdom. And not in a religious way, but in a transformational way. Like, do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be renewed by the, right? So the point is for me, whether it's at ID Life, like we just had our national event, and for those of you not familiar with ID Life, it's a company that I started, and that Troy Aikman is one of our partners, Pudge Rodriguez, just some John Maxwell speaks at all of our events, but ultimately the major cause of that is to use the platform of health and wellness to reach people for the kingdom, to help people understand that life, when our time is done, no one cares about what promotion you got at your job or any of that stuff, right? Ultimately, it's what's the condition of your heart. And I think the world is just really getting us off track. So to answer your question, to be very just direct with you, to me, coaching a baseball team, pastoring a church, running companies is all the same thing. There's people involved.
Right.
And my goal is to help people basically find and follow their maker, and everything else take care of itself.
Well, that's what's really interesting. We align very closely that way. This Talking with Giants umbrella, I first released Talking with Giants, the book, in 2007, created this entire umbrella that was going to be a TV show, a radio show, blogs, all the different things. And it wasn't until actually a few weeks ago, being at ID Revolution, hearing my pastor, who's also one of our investors, who was up there speaking, and he was speaking about today's the day. And coming through, and it hit my heart, and I realized I've been very blessed to do some amazing things. I've done 2,000 stage events, probably spoken to 1,000 people, or a million people live. But you know what? I had an opportunity to do this show. I've had it multiple times and never said yes. Today's the day. It's time for all of us. We can all give back more, and I know you're doing that with your various events. It's just absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah, well, thank you. Look, when all is said and done, usually more is said than done. And it's the things in life that we don't do that we ultimately regret the most. Right. And so I'm excited for you for doing the show. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot of, when I've spoken with you in the past, I said, Scott, here's going to be your deal, brother. You're so talented. You got to figure out where you're going to go with it, right? Because you're going to have, how many books have you written?
13.
13 books. You're so awesome at what you do. And so I'm excited to see what you're doing here. I think this is exactly where God's been preparing you to be. And so there's another reason why I wanted to come. I love seeing people staying in their lane and really using what God's created for them to do. But, when you look at, ID Revolution and our huge event there, I was asked, they said, this is a business. Why are you holding like a church service? Aren't you afraid that's going to cost you business? And look, I want for all of you watching this to understand, I'm not a religious person, okay? I'm not. But I have a deep connection with my father, right? And so I'm a spiritual person, not a religious person. You can be religious about working out. You can be religious about doing things you shouldn't be doing. You can be religious about your faith, right? But I think ultimately, here's the problem I think we're in right now as a culture. And why I think a lot of people are mad at God, right? I think a lot of people are mad at God because they think that a relationship with Christ or being a Christian, they think it's about religion. When here's the facts. It were the religious people that crucified Christ.
Right.
Right? It was the sinners, the people that were seeking and lost that flocked to Jesus. It was the religious know-it-alls that crucified Jesus. And I think it's important to understand there's a lot of Christians that get off track. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, there's some non-Christians I'd rather go hang out with than some Christians. I'm just telling you, some Christians get off track, man, and they've made it about religion instead of about a relationship. And so for me, the reason I left pastoring at a church, again, I still marry people and do that sort of thing, and I still preach sometimes, at churches. But I left full-time ministry at the church because God called me to go be in the marketplace. And I'm not saying that's what all pastors to do. I hope they don't, because we need the church, right? But for me, he gave me absolute clarity that, go out in the world and help people find and follow Christ, and help them understand that church is not about religion; it's about relationship. And ultimately, that's why we hold that worship service. So I'm glad to hear you got value out of it at our event.
Oh, it was fabulous, and it's really interesting because my lovely wife Peggy said to me one day, not too long ago, she said, I think you should be a pastor. And I said, no, I really shouldn't. I lose all my effectiveness that way. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, if as a pastor I tell you Jesus is the way, what do you expect me to tell you? Right? Whereas if I'm in business like we both are, right? It's all about relationships. That's what Talking with Giants is all about. It's about relationships with everybody and understanding how they've fought through the things they've fought through. In fact, we talk about, and it's cliche many times when you talk about making lemonade out of lemons, but one of those lemonades out of lemons was my stroke 15 months ago, which then introduced me to the American Heart and Stroke Association, which we've been able to put together and add value to ID Life, the associates, and so many different people. In fact, you and Haley did an amazing job of chairing the first Heart Ball up in Collin County, raising
a lot of money.
A huge amount of money in the first event. What was that like?
Well, it's always honored when you're asked to be the chair of a nonprofit such as the American Heart Association. That's a huge honor and something very important. It's the number one cause of death. People don't realize that. Above cancer is heart disease. And so that was a huge honor. But again, it just goes to show you the platform, right? And so when you stay in your lane and you do things with integrity, and no one's perfect, when you do things with integrity, do things the right way, what happens is that God trusts you. God can't trust you a little bit. He's not going to trust you with a lot. And, you mentioned your stroke. Somebody said to me, they go, Logan, I struggle with this whole Jesus concept. I said, why is that? They said, well, my mom was a devout Christian. This is what they're saying. My mom was a devout Christian, and basically she went through all these hard times, and if she was doing all the right things, so it's really gotten me, I don't know if I believe in all that because I saw what happened to my mom. And I said, first of all, we have to understand, God did not do that to your mom, okay? We are in a temporary place, focused on an eternal landing point, right? This is, when you're in an airplane, that's not the ultimate destination. You're getting to the destination. This time on earth is temporary. And I had to explain to them that, we are human beings. When we do things we shouldn't do, there are consequences for that. It's not God doing it to us, right? And sometimes it's another human being doing something they shouldn't do that affects you, right? A car crash, or who knows, right? And so ultimately the point is this, is your stroke, because you and I have talked about it, adversity. Here's the bottom line. It's through those difficult times in life that creates God room in our lives. If everything's perfect, you're not going to God. It's when you're on your knees, when you can't pay your bills, when you have a stroke, that's when you get on your knees and you start making promises to God that you're probably not going to keep, but you start making them anyway, right? But the point is it's I know for me, the struggles I've gone through, every time when I look back, I see what God was doing. And not that he did it to me. My point is I see how it was all working out, because the struggle makes us stop and reflect. The struggle makes us realize we are vulnerable. The struggle makes us realize we don't have it all together. When my wife and I, our biggest struggle is when we went through infertility. I don't like talking about it, but let's just be real. That's what I went through. And it was one of my passions behind starting ID Life is my whole life I've been pretty blessed. If I put my bullseye, I wouldn't hit it, right? And so, you do this deal where it's like, okay, honey, let's start having kids. All right, no, seriously, let's start having kids. It's like, and then 10 years go by. And for me, what that did is I realized I wouldn't be the husband I am today. I wouldn't be the father I am today. I wouldn't have the empathy that I have with others that struggle if I didn't go through that. Basically what it did is it created God room, where it ultimately I would have taken having children for granted had that not happened.
I think it's a fabulous point. Miles and Cooper are awesome. Haley's awesome.
Thank you.
You got a wonderful family, and I see how you interact with them and bring them into business and everything that we do together that way. I know that when the stroke happened to me, I had been teaching for a couple years that God's plan and timing is perfect. And we talk about platforms. Well, what it's done for me is it's opened up the conversation of, you can't believe that God's plan and timing is perfect, and I shouldn't have had a stroke.
Right.
You can believe you shouldn't have had a stroke, or God's plan and timing is perfect, but you can't believe them both.
Right.
And so what it's done for me is really moved me into God's plan and timing is perfect, which then ultimately leads to a life of peace. My prayer when it happened after I got out of the emergency room was, Lord, I've been teaching your plan and timing is perfect for the last couple of years now. I don't pretend to understand this plan or this timing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe your plan is to call me home. I don't believe your plan is to maim me or disable me. So I'm choosing to believe that your plan was to wake me up. Duly noted. You got my attention.
Yeah.
That I'm supposed to use this event to serve and save myself and others physically, spiritually for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And if that's your will for my life, I ask for your wisdom and guidance going forward so that I execute that appropriately. Mm-hmm. And if that's not your will for my life, I want you to know whatever you got planned for me, I'm good with.
Yeah.
And I crawled back up into bed and I was floating on a cloud. I've never been at that much peace in my life. Mm-hmm. And so what you're saying, I love making the God space, because we're all going to go through adversity. And the more that we recognize that it's put in our path, I mean, Romans 8:28, right?
It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple. All things work for the good of those who are called to his purpose.
Well, what's so interesting is whenever we look back, we always go, I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. And I think ultimately what happens is we can't escape our own perspectivity. You follow me on this? Yeah. We can't escape it. So when you get caught up in what you're doing, it's just hard to really just stop. I mean, the world today is so chaotic. I mean, and here's what I would tell people. And this is one of the things I coach people on is we spend more time planning a vacation than we do planning our life. I mean, let that sink in. That's so true. I mean, when I ask somebody, they go, Logan, I understand why I'm struggling, why my life's a mess. I always ask them, what's your life plan? And they look at me, they go, what do you mean? I go, what is your life plan? Right? I mean, you're supposed to plan your work and then go work your plan. It seems like you're just trying to work a plan that doesn't exist. You're just sort of the wind's just tossing you. And what's interesting is when we give those wake-up calls, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to have a wake-up call? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be great if that didn't have to happen? But that's not how it works. Right. Because we need the wake-up calls. I mean, think about, audience, think about when you go to a wedding. Mm-hmm. Think about when you go to a funeral. You just start reflecting. Even if it's not someone you know closely. Right. You just start having these reflection times in these moments. And quite honestly, that's one of the things I'm really excited about your show for. I hope this show can become a platform where people can tune in on a regular basis and let this be a time of creating a life plan, of making sure they're keeping the main thing, and keeping their priorities straight. And because usually most of us, we wake up and we just don't get it. And I guess here's what I would tell the folks that are in a funk right now, right? Every mess, heart attack, a stroke, every mess, infertility that we struggle with, every mess, if you give it up to God, can become a powerful message. And that's the whole deal. Instead, we as humans, we cling so tight to how we look. People go buy stuff they can't afford, dress in suits they can't afford to impress people they don't even know.
Or care about.
And and then you have your maker up there saying, look, man, if you knew how much I love you, you'd run into my arms. And if we just gotta go meet God halfway. That's the whole deal. God said, look, man, I got my arm out. Just reach your arm out, and trust that I'm gonna be there. And ultimately, creating God room, unfortunately, I know for me, I'm guilty, it usually comes when we struggle and we have adversity. And the great thing is this. all those struggles, all those adversities, for those who understand Romans 8:28, that mess becomes a powerful message. And for those watching, that'd be my encouragement to them, is understand that whatever you're going through, there's people that have gone through the same thing or worse, and they've come out on top, and you will too. So,
I did a presentation at the Ziegler Devotional a while back.
I remember this.
And one of the I called it sound bites, God's sound bites in our society.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody goes to Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
But what they really forget is 11 and 12, which says, I've had much, I've had little.
Yeah.
I've learned to be content no matter what, because I know I can do all things through Christ, Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah, no, isn't it interesting how we're all guilty of this? We take pieces and bits of the Bible, we don't read it in context, and we go, that's my rallying cry.
That's
like,
right.
Who is this author of that? Who are they speaking to? What was the purpose? What was the intent?
Right.
And maybe in this case, what were the 2 verses that came before it? Yeah. No, that's so good. But you know what's so cool about your show, man, and I hate to keep promoting your show for you, but what's so good about
go
it?
ahead.
Yeah,
Go
well,
ahead.
I'm just being honest. That's the reason why I agreed to come on it. I mean, is people are not just going to go through your show, they're going to grow through your show, and they're going to become better. And ultimately, as my friend, Dr. Tony Evans at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, I think he words it perfectly. If we want a better country, we need better states. If we want better states, we need better cities. If we want better cities, we need better neighborhoods. If we want better neighborhoods, we need better families. If we want better families, we need better people. And so if the people are better, the family's better, right? The city's better, the neighborhood's better, the city's better, the state's better, the country's better, and ultimately the world's better. And I believe that's what your show's going to do for households.
Well, thank you. I'm praying that it does. The fact of the matter is, I sat back and I looked. Why haven't I done this sooner? Well, first of all, God's plan and timing is perfect.
Yeah.
So you can't go through the should-haves and all that. But the point is that it now's the time. I mean, we need this inspiration. We need to talk to people. People have to understand. I did a little bit of when it all is perfect. Yeah. When my weight is just right.
Yeah.
When my well, wait a second. I'm pretty sure I'm like everybody else. I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Things are changing, not necessarily always in the right direction, right?
Gravity, man. Gravity.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate the kind words, because it really is about how do we provide hope and inspiration to others. As a Get Motivated speaker, one of the things that we had underneath the arenas, we had prayer teams. In 5 different cities, 5 different months, 5 different prayer teams, I got prophesied with the exact same Bible verse.
Well, you're hard-headed then, man. What the heck took you so long?
Well, yeah, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord.
Yep.
Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, give a hope and a future.
Yep.
After the 5th time, you know what they call that? A clue.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know what though? That's a lot. You know what it is? Here's the deal. Most people operate out of fear. And for those watching, I want you to understand this. We all get guilty of this, but let me tell you, you will never reach success operating out of fear. It just doesn't happen, It doesn't happen. And yeah, but I'm not comfortable doing that. That means you should do it. Right. Well, I've never done that. Okay, today's the day, And I know for me, all my greatest successes, again, I'm not trying to, that sounds so arrogant, but for me, out of my greatest successes, it's all been right outside my comfort zone. I've had to make a bold leap. Right? A bold leap. And ultimately, my biggest successes have become from the getting out of my comfort zone the greatest.
Have you had any detractors during those big leaps?
Have I had any detractors? Oh, my goodness gracious. And to give Taylor Swift credit, man, you just got to shake it off. You just got, I've had distractors. Hey, look, when I left the ministry, pastors, like these were supposed to be my teammates. Pastors like, I can't believe you're leaving the pulpit. I can't believe you're blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, and look, yes, I don't care. If you don't have detractors, if you don't have people knocking you down, telling you, it'll never work, you're not dreaming big enough. If you're not doing something that people are questioning or blah, 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 you're settling for something. You're not going for God's best for your life. I'm just telling you point blank. I mean, there's people make up stuff about me. I'm going, where's this even come from, I ask some of my dear friends that are obviously famous, like Troy Aikman, right? I mean, the stuff people say about him, and I'm going, hey, Troy's a good friend of mine. Like, I said, Troy, how does this not bother you? And Troy is a Christian, and he's got 2 incredible daughters. And I said, Troy, how does this not bother you? And he said, Logan, man, he goes, at some point, you just have to realize there are some dumb people in the world, and and all you can do is pray for them.
Yeah.
And it's look, there's going to be detractors, and that's just part of the deal. But
Well, again, it was part of ID Revolution. I sat there as an observer a lot of the times and really sat back and went, haters are going to hate, lovers are going to love.
Yeah.
I choose the love side.
Yeah,
In fact,
man.
let me talk. This time is just flying by. Want to touch real quickly on ID Life and personalized nutrition because it is the future. It is
Yeah.
the future today. It's already here. Can you talk real quick to it?
Well, I think there's 6 major quadrants of life, right? Mental, spiritual, physical, financial, emotional, and relational. And there are 3 of those quadrants if you really want to be free from a worldly standpoint, right? Obviously money, having time freedom, and then being healthy. You can have all the money in the world all the time. You're not healthy, you're not free. And so most people wait till something goes wrong and then they invest in their health because their doctor told them so. Right? Well, I think our country's getting back slowly but surely, getting to the point of health care versus sick care.
Right.
Let's not wait till something goes wrong, right? Now, there's no such thing as a magic pill. You can't say you cure, prevent disease, and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, what I would tell you is, with ID Life, it's this simple. It's customized vitamins. We all know we need the right vitamins, the right minerals, the right nutrients. The problem is what do we need, right? Well, what you need is different than what I need. And so you take this assessment, it's free, it's HIPAA compliant, your privacy is protected, you go online, and this is because of ID Nutrition. It's one of the reasons the American Heart Association and some of these alignments that we have are so powerful. But it gives you a free health score, and at the end it tells you exactly what you need, blocks what you shouldn't be taking, and then it literally cites the third-party independent clinical study real time. So the main game changers with ID Life, and obviously we have our weight loss program, our sleep program, the main thing is it's all healthy. Natural, organically derived, non-GMO, casein-free, gluten-free, soy-free, customized to the individual, and then evidence-based. Evidence-based. So it's not ID Life telling you what you need. It's backed by third-party independent clinical studies.
Right.
So yeah, they can go online for free and get it.
Yeah, what I want to offer everybody is a free personal health assessment at freeidlifeassessment.com. Go ahead and get your free health score. Understand that the temple is got to be nourished properly.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of conversation. We don't have time to go into it this show, but one of the reasons I came away with a fairly significant cerebellum stroke is because I had my body nutritionally sound going into it. Again, not claiming any healing or health claims or anything like that, just trying to state the fact when we feed the body what the body needs, good things happen. Okay. Logan, one last quick word for everybody.
Well, it's an honor to be here and understand that if you're watching this show, that means God has a plan for your life and God's not done with you, and that's why you're here. And ultimately, find that plan. Be true to your heart. You can never lie to your heart. And we're all here by design. We all have influence. The key is how we use that influence to change people's lives for the better, one person at a time. And so hopefully I get to meet folks in the future at an event or something. So thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Ben.
Yeah,
this has been an awesome experience to be with you over the last few years and what we're doing here with Talking with Giants. Join us again soon for the next Talking with Giants.